She threw her wedding ring into the sink like it was a gum wrapper. Then she walked past me, eyes dry, chin high, and said the words that I would end up hearing on loop in my head for the next 30 nights. You'll thank me for this one day. I didn't chase her. I didn't ask where she was going, because I already knew. I sat on the edge of the bathtub, fully dressed, staring at the ring under the faucet. I didn't cry. Not yet. I just sat there wondering how we got from Saturday pancakes and shared playlists to this, whatever this was. I remember thinking something stupid, like, the water's gonna push the ring down the drain. But it didn't. Just sat there. Like it was mocking me. The silence that followed was the loudest thing I've ever heard. She didn't take much. A duffel bag. Her laptop. That stupid green jacket I told her made her look like a high schooler. The house still smelled like her shampoo the next morning, and that was somehow the cruelest part. What hurts isn't that she left. It's how easily she left. No screaming match. No big dramatic blowout. She didn't even slam the door. Just, I'm done, Eli. Like it was her Starbucks order. She called me Eli like she hadn't called me that in months. Like the words still fit in her mouth comfortably. She told me she needed space to breathe. That she felt like she was suffocating inside this life. That marriage wasn't supposed to feel like a job. I wanted to scream back that I felt like an intern in my own home. Always doing, always fixing, never seen. But I didn't. I just nodded. Like a coward. I cleaned the kitchen that night. Washed every plate. Took out the trash. Like if I kept the house clean enough, maybe the mess she made of my heart wouldn't feel so obvious. A week later, I found out who he was. Not from her. From his playlist. She forgot to log out of Spotify on our shared speakers. His name popped up when a song started blasting through the living room while I was folding laundry. Some romantic nonsense I'd never heard of. The next song was from a band she once told me she hated. Now it was on repeat. So I did what any man drowning in his own denial does. I played the song again. And again, trying to find the clue, the reason, the piece of her I hadn't seen. Instead, I found something else. A month later, she knocked on my door. Different tone. Different clothes. Same face. She said, I just wanted to see. She didn't finish the sentence. But I knew exactly what she came for. She came to see who took her place. When she stepped into my apartment, she did it like she still had a key. Like she expected everything to be right where she left it. The silence, the guilt, the man too spineless to stand up for himself. But this place wasn't like the home we shared. It was smaller, messier, and real. The air smelled like instant coffee and anxiety. There were no scented candles, no decorative bowls filled with pine cones, none of the curated perfection she used to obsess over. She glanced at the couch like it had betrayed her just by existing without her body ever having sunk into it. Her eyes darted toward the dining table. 2 chairs, 2 mugs, one still half full, one with lipstick. Not hers. She didn't say anything, but her breath caught for half a second, just enough for me to notice. And I did. For once, I noticed everything. She asked how I was. I said I was fine. That was a lie. I hadn't been fine since she left, but I had learned how to pretend. Turns out, that's a skill I picked up from her. I asked if she was here for something specific. She smiled, tilted her head like she used to when she was trying to soften a blow, and said, I was just in the neighborhood. She lived 2 cities away now. I almost laughed, but I didn't. I just let the silence stretch, and for the first time in our relationship, post-relationship, I guess, she squirmed. That same woman who used to walk into rooms like she owned the floorboards now shifted her weight like she wasn't sure where she belonged. I stood, arms crossed, waiting. She tried again. I saw the new art on your profile. The painting. It's not your style. She was right. It wasn't mine. It was hers. Not Callous, the woman who left me. It was the style of the woman who found me. The woman who, in the middle of all this wreckage, saw the pieces of me I thought were only worth sweeping under the rug. That woman didn't replace Calla. She didn't walk in and take over like some character swap. She just sat beside me on the nights I couldn't sleep. She didn't try to fix me. She let me be broken, and somehow, that made healing feel like a real possibility. Calla looked down at her shoes. Did you move on? She asked, finally. But the way she asked it, it wasn't curiosity. It was grief. The slow, creeping kind that doesn't hit until the party's over and the lights come on. I should have lied. I should have said something vague. Something that would let her walk away with dignity. But I didn't. I looked her in the eye and said, no, I didn't move on. Then I paused. I leveled up. The silence after that was almost holy. Her face changed. Not with anger. Not even jealousy. Just that deep, stunned realization that whatever power she thought she still had over me was gone. I thought she'd leave after that. But she didn't. She stayed. And what she said next shattered everything I thought I had rebuilt. She stood there for a long time after I said it. I leveled up. Like the words had bruised her in slow motion. She stared at the floor, at the edge of the rug like it was some kind of boundary she couldn't cross. I thought that would be the end. I thought she'd turn, toss some half-hearted insult over her shoulder, maybe slam the door for the drama. But Calla didn't move. Instead, she did something I had never seen her do in all the years we were together. She trembled. It was subtle at first, a twitch of her hand, a shift in her jaw, but then she looked at me with eyes that weren't cold or cruel or manipulative. They were scared. And not scared of me. Scared of herself. "I need to tell you something," she said, and her voice cracked in the middle like a cheap record. My stomach clenched. I braced myself for anything: pregnancy, cancer, debt, something about him. But what she said knocked the air clean out of my lungs. "I made a mistake," she whispered. "A huge one." I said nothing. I didn't trust myself to speak. My heartbeat sounded like thunder in my ears. She took a deep breath, like she was about to confess to a crime. And in a way, she was. "That night I left," she continued. "It wasn't supposed to be permanent. Kellen," and hearing his name again still felt like a punch. "He promised me everything. Said he was leaving his wife. That we'd start over, fresh, together." I raised my eyebrows. She noticed. "Yes," she admitted, "he was married. I didn't know at first. Then I didn't care. I thought it meant he understood me better. That he knew what it meant to be trapped." The audacity of her calling our marriage a trap made my chest burn, but I stayed quiet. "He left me," she finally said, tears collecting like glass in her eyes. 2 weeks after I moved in with him. Said he never intended to keep me. That he just wanted to see if he still had it. I should have felt triumphant. Like karma had done its job with precision. But all I felt was exhaustion. Emotional whiplash. I was a human punching bag for her choices, and now she wanted a shoulder to cry on. Still, some stupid part of me, the same part that once thought love could fix a drowning ship, wanted to ask if she was okay. But she wasn't done. "I tried to go back to the apartment after that," she said. "You weren't there. The place was empty. You didn't even leave a note." "I wasn't required to," I replied, sharper than I intended. But I didn't apologize. Not this time. She finally stepped over the edge of the rug. Closer. Too close. Her voice dropped. "I've been thinking about you every day, Eli. I was wrong. About everything. I let go of something good because I was chasing a feeling that didn't exist." I almost believed her. Almost. But then I remembered all the nights I ate dinner alone while she was at yoga. All the times she kissed me with numb lips and told me she loved me with her eyes somewhere else. I remembered the woman who threw her ring in the sink like it was scrap metal. "Why are you really here, Calla?" I asked. She blinked, confused. Then she hesitated just a second too long. I knew that look. That pause. That was the gap where a lie tries to form. And then it hit me. She wasn't here because she missed me. She was here because she had nowhere else to go. But she didn't know I'd already offered that second chair at the dining table to someone else. Someone who didn't treat love like a seasonal subscription. And just when I thought I was done listening, she said something that turned everything upside down again. When she said it, it didn't sound like a bombshell. There was no dramatic thunderclap. No crescendo in the background score. She just said it like she was commenting on the weather. "You're not really with her, are you?" Her voice was soft, calculated, like a hand reaching for a knife, wrapped in velvet. I blinked. Not because I didn't understand the words, but because I couldn't believe she had the audacity to ask. I didn't respond right away. I just tilted my head and let the question float in the silence between us. She didn't like that. Calla hated silence. She liked control, narratives she could steer, people she could bend. And suddenly, she wasn't sure what script we were following anymore. "You said you leveled up," she continued, her voice a little firmer now. "But I know you, Eli. You don't move on that fast. Not unless." She let it hang there. The implication. The challenge. And that's when I realized what this really was. This wasn't closure. This wasn't regret. This was a test. She thought I was bluffing. That my new life was a carefully curated illusion. A performance to hurt her the way she'd hurt me. And part of me wanted to feed into that. To let her believe I was alone. That she still had real estate inside my heart. That I was still the same man who made her tea when she had a fake headache, who let her walk all over me because I thought that's what love does. But I wasn't that man anymore. So I stepped aside, turned toward the kitchen counter, and calmly picked up the second mug. The one with the lipstick she'd been pretending not to notice. "She'll be back any minute," I said, casually rinsing it out in the sink. "We're supposed to pick out curtains." It was a lie, but Calla didn't know that. Her posture stiffened. Her lips parted slightly, like she was about to argue, but then she caught herself. She looked down at the floor, then slowly scanned the room again, this time with new eyes. She wasn't looking for comfort anymore. She was looking for evidence. Something to either confirm or dismantle the story I just handed her. The half-made bed. The forgotten scarf draped over the arm of the couch. The soft hum of a playlist still echoing from the speaker. Not her music, not mine. Hers. All carefully placed illusions. But that's the thing about illusions. When done right, even the person creating them starts to believe. Because here's the truth. There was no new woman. There was someone, yes. But she wasn't mine. Not yet. Not in the way Calla feared. She was a neighbor. Lived 3 floors up. We met in the laundry room. She liked jazz, ate cereal for dinner, and once helped me carry a broken lamp to the dumpster. We'd talked, laughed, shared quiet evenings. But I never crossed the line. Because a part of me still felt broken. And the thing about broken things? They don't always heal. Sometimes they just grow around the damage. But now, watching Calla unravel right in front of me, I felt something shift. Something dangerous. Something honest. She stepped closer again, her voice suddenly low. "Do you love her?" My jaw tensed. I looked her in the eye, and for the first time in our entire relationship, I told the truth that scared me the most. No, but I could. That did it. Her face twisted into something between grief and anger. Her eyes watered, real tears this time, but she didn't let them fall. She was too proud, too practiced. She turned away quickly, pretending to look at the bookshelf like something there mattered. Then, just before walking out, she said something that froze me in place. "Eli, be careful. Not everyone who saves you wants to keep you." And then she was gone. But her words stayed. Because maybe she wasn't just talking about the woman upstairs. Maybe she was talking about herself. I didn't sleep that night. I kept hearing her voice on a loop. Not the part where she cried. Not the part where she admitted she'd made a mistake. No, it was that last line. That parting shot she dropped like a match in a forest. Not everyone who saves you wants to keep you. The kind of sentence that doesn't hit until hours later. The kind that waits until the house is quiet. Until the lights are off. Until you're lying there in the dark wondering if you're the punchline in a joke you never heard. I replayed everything. The woman upstairs, Mara. The scarf I left on the couch to make Calla believe something that wasn't quite true. The mug I purposefully didn't wash for 2 days. The playlist I borrowed from Mara's shared Spotify profile when she wasn't looking. It was all theater, and I had become good at it. But here's the thing, lies rot from the inside. The next morning, I opened my front door and found a small paper bag on the welcome mat. No note, just my name written in bold marker on the front. Inside were 3 things. A jar of fig jam. A handwritten quote on a napkin. Healing doesn't mean returning to who you were. It means letting go of who you aren't. A tiny, clear USB stick. It didn't take a genius to figure out who it was from. Mara. But that didn't make sense. We weren't that close. We weren't exchanging gifts or leaving mysterious packages. We were neighbors. Friendly, yes. But not this. Still, I brought it inside. Set the bag on the counter. Stared at the USB for a long time like it might explode. I told myself not to plug it in. I told myself it was none of my business. But that's the thing about being lied to for years. Once it happens enough, your curiosity turns feral. I inserted the USB. Just one folder. Labeled, "Before you think I'm perfect." Inside, a dozen video files. All time-stamped. All recent. The first one opened with Mara, same quiet, jazz-loving Mara, sitting in what looked like a stairwell, tears running down her cheeks. She didn't speak. She just stared into the camera, shaking, mouthing something I couldn't hear. The second clip showed her with a man. I couldn't see his face, only his voice in the background, controlling, cold, instructing her to do something with a tone that made my skin crawl. By the third video, my hands were shaking. This wasn't about me. This wasn't about Calla. This was a warning. Mara wasn't some savior. She wasn't some quirky neighbor with a soft smile and a good heart. She was running. And now, she had brought that danger to my front door. Suddenly, Kala's words didn't sound jealous. They sounded prophetic. I closed the folder, pulled the USB out, and stared out the window toward Mara's apartment. Lights off, curtains drawn. But I swear I saw something, someone, move behind the glass. Something was wrong. Very wrong. I didn't sleep that night either. The images from those videos haunted every corner of my mind. Mara's tear-streaked face, the dark silhouette of that man with the cold voice, the way she trembled like a leaf caught in a storm. It was a silent scream trapped inside digital files, a message written in fear. And the worst part? I had no idea what I was supposed to do with it. My apartment suddenly felt like a cage. Every sound was amplified. The hum of the refrigerator, the creak of the floorboards, the distant siren wailing somewhere far away but close enough to pierce the stillness. I kept looking out the window toward Mara's apartment, but all I saw was darkness. No light, no movement, just an ominous void that threatened to swallow me whole. The next morning, I found another package waiting for me. No sender's name, just a single envelope sealed with red wax, strange and archaic, like it belonged in a mystery novel. Inside was a note, written in Mara's shaky handwriting. Sometimes the greatest betrayal is the one we don't see coming. Watch your back, Eli. Not all allies wear friendly faces. I was drowning in riddles. I decided I had to confront Mara. But when I knocked on her door, there was no answer. The hallway was eerily silent, like the building itself was holding its breath. A neighbor told me she'd left early that morning for some family emergency, but something in his eyes made me doubt it. His gaze lingered too long, like he was warning me without words. Days passed. Mara's apartment remained empty. The silence gnawed at me. Then came the calls, anonymous numbers, dead air when I answered. Late at night, shadows flickered past my windows, but when I looked, nothing was there. My sense of reality began to fracture. Was I paranoid, or was someone watching me? Was Mara really in danger, or was this some cruel game I had stumbled into? Then, just when I thought I couldn't take any more, Kala called. Her voice was barely a whisper, soaked with regret and fear. She said, "Eli, you have to get out. You don't know who you're dealing with. They're closer than you think." I wanted to ask who they were, but the line went dead before I could. I was alone, trapped between the ghosts of my past and the shadows of the present. And the woman upstairs, the neighbor who wasn't really my neighbor, had vanished. I was left with nothing but a growing terror that the person who once saved me might have been the one setting the trap. Because when trust becomes a prison, escape is just a dream. Days slipped by like shards of glass cutting through the fog in my mind. I stopped trusting the hum of everyday sounds, the creak of the ceiling, the distant chatter of neighbors, the faint thud of footsteps in the hall. Each became a whispering threat. I found myself checking locks obsessively, peering out windows for signs of movement that might not even be there. My phone buzzed with unknown numbers, each call cutting off before I could speak, leaving a chilling silence that screamed louder than words. I started to question everything. Was Mara really a victim, or was she the architect of some elaborate game? Had Kala's sudden reappearance been a desperate attempt to warn me, or something darker, a manipulation born from jealousy and regret? The lines between friend and foe blurred into shadows that stretched longer with every passing hour. I thought about the last conversation with Kala, her warning echoing in my ears. Not everyone who saves you wants to keep you. I wondered if those words were meant for Mara or for me. Was I the one being set up? Was I the pawn in someone else's twisted chess match? Then came the message. A text, simple and chilling. Look behind the mask. No sender, no context, just those 5 words. I stared at my screen for what felt like hours, the meaning unraveling in my mind. What mask? Whose mask? And why now? Driven by a growing need for answers, I returned to the apartment building, the place where Mara had disappeared. The once familiar hallway now felt alien, the peeling wallpaper and flickering lights amplifying my unease. I knocked on doors, asked neighbors, but the answers were evasive, their eyes darting away when I mentioned Mara. That's when I noticed it. A small, almost imperceptible symbol etched into the stairwell wall, something I hadn't seen before. It was a delicate, looping pattern that looked like a signature or a code. Goosebumps prickled my skin. The The symbol whispered secrets I couldn't yet understand. On a whim, I searched online for the pattern, and what I found chilled me to the bone. A clandestine group known for psychological manipulation, weaving webs of control under the guise of friendship and salvation. I realized then that I was caught in something far larger than a broken marriage or a betrayal. This was a game of shadows and masks, and I was deep in the middle, blindfolded. Back in my apartment, I tore through Mara's videos again, scrutinizing every frame, every glance. The man's voice still echoed in my mind, cold and commanding, and I knew the threat was real. But who was he? And how far did this reach? As the night bled into dawn, I found myself alone with my thoughts, trapped between the shattered pieces of my past and the ominous uncertainty of my future. The woman I once loved, the neighbor who vanished, the cryptic warnings, all tangled in a knot I wasn't sure I could untie. I was no longer just fighting to rebuild a life. I was fighting to survive the lies I never saw coming. The night I finally let go of the fear was the night I stopped trying to control everything. I sat alone in my apartment, surrounded by the silence that once felt like a prison, but now seemed like a blank page. I thought about Kala, about Mara, about every twist that brought me here, about the man with the cold voice, about the shadows that haunted me. And for the first time, I stopped asking why, stopped searching for answers in other people's brokenness. I realized the real battle wasn't out there. It was inside me. I had spent so long trying to fix the parts of my life that felt broken, trying to hold on to things that were slipping through my fingers. I forgot to look inward. Forgotten that healing starts with acceptance. Acceptance of pain, mistakes, and the messy, beautiful chaos of being human. So I made a choice. I started small. Morning runs that chased away the fog. Journals filled with raw thoughts, unfiltered and honest. Reconnecting with friends I'd neglected. And most importantly, opening my heart to someone new. Not to replace, but to build something different, something real. Her name is Lila. She's not perfect, and neither am I. She laughs at my awkward jokes, challenges my insecurities, and doesn't ask me to wear a mask. We don't have fairy tale beginnings, just messy, imperfect moments that feel genuine. Kala's chapter closed with heartbreak, but my story was just beginning. I still think about the past sometimes, but it no longer controls me. Instead, it teaches me about resilience, about boundaries, about love that nurtures rather than confines. When she walked away, I thought I was losing everything. But in truth, I was finding myself. And now, I'm free.